Hey guys, Brian from Boas here. I have another litter of boas on the ground, and this is one I'm super excited about. This is one of my most highly anticipated pairings of 2022, one I've been working on for quite a while now, keeping these animals. This is a Tamatama Venezuela true redtail boa, and I believe the female was starting to go into labor, or preparing for having the babies the last few days. Last night she was kind of moving around the cage, so it looks like they were born in the middle of the night. So let's go take a quick look. I'm really excited to get a close-up view of these baby Venezuelan true redtails. Okay, we have a very highly anticipated litter today. These are Tamatama Venezuela true redtails. And let's see, we see some babies in the corner. And they look quite well developed. These guys were about 110 days after the post-ovulation shed, so right where they should be. I don't see any slugs, which is a good sign. Looks like there might be one that's not alive, unfortunately. But the others look like they're viable and look pretty healthy. These guys must have been born sometime during the night. I checked on them last night around 11 before I went to bed, and there were no babies, although the female was moving around the cage quite a bit. Look at those cute little heads. These little baby boas are always so cute. So this is a really exciting litter for me. I actually tried this pairing for the first time in 2021 and wasn't successful. Try, if you don't succeed, try again. And then the second time, looks like we've got some beautiful babies here. These are animals that is a bloodline established by Terry Cullen from boas collected at the confluences of the Rio Cassiquare and Orinoco, and Tamatama is the name of the village in southern Venezuela. As far as I know, there's very few of these in captivity. So I'm super excited. I mean, Venezuelan boas in general are rare, but these Tamatama Venezuela boas are just really, really rare. So hopefully this will perpetuate this rare locality of boa, and we can keep these beauties going. This is a shot of the mother. She's actually sitting on the other side of the enclosure, away from the babies. So I think she's ready to be done with them. So I'm going to get her out of here in a minute. We're going to give her a soak, get her cleaned up. Then we're going to move the babies to a separate container, clean up the enclosure thoroughly, and then put her back. But let's first take another quick look at the babies in situ. And there they are again, the pile of babies. And I think you probably can see that one that looks like it's kind of flat in there, right on the right. I don't think that one is alive, unfortunately, but the rest of them look pretty viable. So we'll just get the mother out and take a closer look at what we have here. Okay, the mother's soaking now in some lukewarm water, get her nice and cleaned up, make her feel better. And now I'm just going to take a quick look at the babies. See, it's kind of awkward to hold the camera and film at the same time, try to get these animals. I think this is the stillborn. You can see this one looks kind of whitish, and unfortunately he or she is not viable. It's always sad to see these animals, and not quite sure if these are animals that just were never going to make it, or maybe they were fine up until something went wrong right around birth. But it's not uncommon to see these stillborns. Maybe one or two in a litter. See, the rest of them look to be moving around. Not sure if they're going to be a little bit nippy. Well, those guys are just really beautiful animals. Look at those tails. I'm not going to try to pick them up yet, just because I don't want to disturb. Sometimes their umbilical cord is still connected and get a little bit of blood. So usually I just try to carefully move them all in mass together with any necessary substrate, just so that I don't disturb them very much. I didn't do a count. It looks like there's maybe 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. I usually count heads, though sometimes they're kind of buried in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. Yeah, beautiful. And they look just like the parents. The mother, as you saw, doesn't have the peaks, but the father is slightly peaked, and you can see some of these animals, like this one here, have this kind of irregular looking peak saddles. Some of them have kind of more of a round saddle that you more typically see in the Venezuelan boas. I just want to get a close-up shot of these animals before I remove them. You can see the differences in their patterns. I got the babies removed to this sterilite tub. This is a 14 gallon or 56 quart sterilite tub, and I just keep my babies in these tubs for about a week until right before they shed, and then I move them to separate tubs. But I did a head count. Looks like we got 9 healthy babies plus the unfortunate one stillborn, and these guys are all looking quite nice. I don't see any signs of any amniotic stacks. They kind of more broke up. These guys are a few days past their predicted due date by the 105 days after the post-ovulation shed. It's about 110. But actually with the BCC, I typically will see them go often a week or two past the post-ovulation shed. But it's good that these guys are nice and fully developed. And there's a closer view. You can see how gorgeous these guys are. So usually you can see all that goo that kind of went along for the ride, and this stuff goes bad pretty fast. So I usually change the paper towels a couple times a day when they're first born. And it's important to keep them nice and moist. These guys I'll just keep with a pretty simple setup, just a hot spot of about 90 on one half of the cage. And then I spray them down several times a day, keep them nice and moist, just with water, of course. And so this is definitely one of my most anticipated litters this year, just because I haven't bred Venezuelan boas before, and these are super rare BCC to see in captivity, especially these Tamatama locale. So it's really exciting. The culmination of many months of hard work getting ready for this. And you know, to be honest, I was kind of up, my stomach was in knots last night because I knew that she was close, and I didn't really sleep well last night. You know, breeding these boas can definitely be an emotional roller coaster, you know, and obviously you want everything to go smoothly, but ultimately you don't have a lot of control, so you just have to do your best and let nature take its course sometimes. Just some last shots of those tails. These guys are really beautiful animals. I can't wait to see after they shed. They're just going to be gorgeous animals and really exciting. So I thought I'd take a closer look at the stillborn before I bury him in the garden. And this guy actually looks pretty deformed. He's got some pretty severe spinal kinking. I don't know if you can see, but there's almost like a little ridges where the spine isn't straight there. You can see these multiple kinks. And then this probably isn't going to show up on the camera, but it looks like he's got no eyes, and it looks like his snout didn't develop well. Apologies if this is a bit graphic for some of you viewers. But this actually makes me feel a little better. You know, I always wonder if if they're stillborn, they just die because they don't get born in the right position, something like that, or they get smushed by the mother. But this guy was clearly not destined for survival. I mean, look at that kinking in his tail there. So sad. Sometimes development just doesn't go as planned. You know, you can scratch your head from now until the cows come home wondering about why. Was it heat? Was it, you know, exposure to some chemical? Was it radiation? And the truth is, often these deformities just happen randomly, and it's just a mistake of development, you know. And when you look at how complex multicellular life is, like Boas, it's amazing that the development goes right such a high percentage of the time. But this guy clearly was not destined to survive. So I'm going to go ahead and bury him out near the garden, hopefully fertilize my tomato plants. While I'm out there, I'm going to clean out my the enclosure for the mother, put in some nice fresh substrate after getting it nice and clean, taking that baby smell away, and then I'll come back and continue filming this video. Now I want to give you guys a quick look at the mother, and she's doing great. I actually finished soaking her and gave her a quick examination, and she looked beautiful. Quite a bit deflated though, of course. And went ahead and I took her boa tub out and thoroughly cleaned and disinfected it. One of the nice things about keeping my smaller boas in these big tubs is that it makes it super easy to get it really clean. You can just take it out back and hose it down, full blast, get rid of all the gunk, and then I can disinfect it, put in new substrate, and she's ready to go. No smell of the babies. And she's probably pretty hungry right now. It's been about a month and a half or so since she's fed. Give you guys a close-up look of this beautiful female Venezuelan Tamatama Redtail boa. This is actually her first litter. She's about 8 years old. She's only about 5.5 feet, so these guys are a smaller type of true redtail. The father is actually even smaller. I'll probably get him out later in the video. But she did great, and she has a well-deserved rest now for the next few years before I even think about breeding her again. It's been about 5 or 6 hours since I took the babies out, and I just came to change the paper towels as they were starting to get a little funky with all that goo starting to decompose. And you can see they're kind of piled up in the corner here. I'm kind of holding my hand back so I don't get bitten, but they don't seem particularly aggressive. None have struck out at me. But just a gorgeous pile of baby Venezuelan red tails. There's another one over here that left the pile. Yeah, he doesn't want to come over. There you go. And they usually pile together like this just to stay safe. It kind of gives them safety in numbers. You can see I have a pretty basic, just a heat mat underneath this tub set to maintain about 90 degrees, and they'll stay in here for about a week or so. Now I'll just show you guys some more close-ups of these beauties. I don't know if you're getting tired of seeing so many close-up shots of these babies, but this is really why I breed boas and why I deal with all of the hard work and the dirty cages and all the hassle and sacrifice. It all kind of boils down to this beautiful litter of these rare Venezuelan true red tails. I just sometimes just have to kind of sit and take it all in and just really appreciate them. So a beautiful litter. Hopefully some more litters of this quality on the way later this year, but definitely one of my nicest litters in quite a while. Thought I'd end the video by giving you guys a look at the father. This is a male Tamatama Venezuela true redtail, and this guy's also 8 years old. You can see he's pretty small. I would say he's maybe 4.5 feet or so. Really not much bigger than my Tarahumara or Locality or my other types of dwarf boas. This appears to be one of the smaller forms of true redtail boa out there. He's probably about, I don't know, 1.5 feet shorter than the female. His pattern's a little bit different too. You can see his saddles are more peaky looking. He's got this beautiful golden brown color. Another characteristic of the Venezuelan true redtails, you can see their heads are kind of short, not nearly as long as some of the other true redtails like the Peruvians, almost more like a Colombian boa imperator. So they're a really cool form of true redtail. that, to me, my eye, has some of the characteristics of the Colombian boa imperator, as well as some of the characteristics of the Suriname and Peruvian true redtails. Just a really cool boa that epitomizes why I enjoy locality boa collecting so much. You can just learn so much about evolution of these animals by studying the different localities. So this male is supposedly from a different bloodline from the female. So Terry Cullen supposedly collected these animals, the founder animals that started this bloodline, from a small village known as Tamatama in southern Venezuela. It's kind of at the confluences of the Orinoco and Casaquari rivers. And I don't know really too many people who have these. I think they're quite rare in US collections. So I'm really super excited to have produced these, and hopefully we can keep this locality going. With so few people breeding some of these localities, I really feel an obligation to try to get some of these animals out there where other people can breed them, and we can keep these great animals going on for the next generation of reptile keepers. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll probably do an update video on how the babies are doing in another few weeks, so stay tuned for that one. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a line. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.